Hi, I'm Maren Leed, the Executive Director of the National Spectrum Consortium, and I'm here this morning for a conversation with Ray Dolan, the Chairman and CEO of Cohere Technologies. He's one of the members of the National Spectrum Consortium, and we conduct these spotlight interviews in order to give our members an opportunity to talk about their capabilities and hopefully better enable collaboration and innovation amongst our membership. So Ray, it's a real pleasure to have you, and I appreciate you taking the time to join me today.
Thanks, Maren. It's a pleasure to be with you and your audience.
Well, so can you tell me a little bit about your role as chairman and CEO, what your a normal day looks like in the life of Ray Dolan?
Sure. As the CEO of Cohere, I have the pleasure of leading our team in a couple of areas. One, the technology development, as we create a software product that helps the wireless industry. And then primarily as an ambassador to get out to the technology ecosystem and the operators on a global basis and let them know what we can do for them in the 4G and the 5G space. And of course, consistent with NSC's mission to look for additional opportunities beyond traditional cellular where we can help out our government partners and opportunities there.
Great. So can you talk a little bit more about your technology solution? And specifically, I know you've done some recent demonstrations that have proven your ability to work across 4G and 5G and beyond that are pretty exciting. So can you say a little bit about that?
Sure. It's a pleasure to talk about this now. We've been at this for several years, and we're finally at the stage where it's obvious to the industry what we can do for the traditional cellular space. So first of all, most of the energy now in the cellular industry is moving towards what we call beamforming or spatial multiplexing. Probably the simplest analogy I would use for those that have been in a theater is that up until now, the lighting directors had one big spotlight to put on the stage. All the actors get the light. Now that lighting director has the opportunity to put pencil beams on each actor. And if it's done properly, each actor feels like they're getting their own beam. They feel like they're getting all of the light from that lighting director. And as long as everybody's coordinated, you can follow the actors as they move around the stage, right? That's what's going on in cellular. So a traditional site that radiated out and everybody shared is now special antennas and software being added so that individuals within that serving area feel like they're getting the entire site. And that would either double or triple or quadruple the capacity of that site. And if you do it on a global basis, you would double the capacity of the entire network. We just did that with Vodafone, which is one of the largest operators in the world. It was in a lab, so we're still pre-commercial. We're still a pre-revenue company, venture-backed in Santa Clara, California. But we've now entered the point where the industry understands what we've done. And we're now an important part of what the industry calls ORAN, or Open Radio Access Networks. So we're a software layer that lives in a base station as well as in a data center in the cloud. And we enhance the capacity of base stations through beamforming, okay?
And when you think about the applications of this technology, certainly, you know, there's a lot of focus on what 5G and 5G and beyond are going to mean for individual users, but I know you've got a big focus on the incredible power that might offer for the enterprise. So can you talk a little bit about what you see as the enterprise applications of it, and also what, given the NSC's mission, the benefit might also be in a warfighting context?
These are great questions. And as I said, it's just now obvious what the technology does. And prior to it being obvious, it's a difficult conversation to have because it's like mumbo jumbo, alphabet soup. Now people realize, okay, you can beamform and double or quadruple the capacity or the number of people that can use the network. However, if that technology lives right at the base station, it's not a convenient place to fork into the enterprise. So what you want to have is, you want to have that technology be able to move from the base station right under the tower to the edge data center. We've done that. It's it's called coherence time, which is actually why the company's called Cohere Technologies. And we have the coherence time to allow for the round trip delay that would occur between the base station and the edge data center. When we move our technology back to the cloud, now the operator can go to the base station or can fork into the enterprise. So now the operator has kind of like a fork in the road where they can deliver all of their radio access services to the enterprise directly, or they can put them out into the wide area network, or both. Now, the reason that's so important for the profitability of these operators is right now, all of us are basically signed up for all-you-can-eat internet access plans. And it's just a race to the bottom. I mean, they're profitable companies, don't get me wrong, but it's very hard to differentiate yourself, my all-you-can-eat plan versus somebody else's all-you-can-eat plan. But when you go into the enterprise, now you're working against objectives that have significant profitability benefits to the enterprise. Industrial automation or special purpose applications like managing drones over recovery sites or delivery of materials. And when you do that, since you're enhancing the profitability of the enterprise, the profitability of those services are orders of magnitude greater, or at least they have the potential to be orders of magnitude greater. And they're sticky because now a business organizes themselves around your network service and you become part of the enterprise's entire kind of process re-engineering, to use a buzzword from, say, 20 years ago. So these operators want to beamform to drive their capacity up by like 2 or 4 times. And then they want to move that function back to the cloud so that they can fork to the enterprise and make more money. Now, the final part of your question, if I remember, is like, so what does this mean to the warfighter? This is exciting for me as a former Marine pilot. The warfighting environment has changed dramatically since I was there 30, 40 years ago. But now everything needs to be communication enabled. Some of the applications are relatively straightforward and they can easily be handled by conventional networks like 4G and 5G. Some of them are extremely rigorous, like hypersonic flight or missile guidance systems that have ultra high reliability requirements and ultra low latency requirements. And those may need special purpose waveforms. So here's where the whole tie into NSC comes in, Maren. If we go after the cellular industry, now we're in a $2 trillion industry. That opportunity for us is like a kid in a candy store. So if we can double the value of someone's network and they've spent hundreds of billions of dollars on it, you can imagine the kind of value that we can ask for in exchange. So we're not there yet, but that's the road we're on. Now, that gives our company the scale and the presence in a commercial platform, 5G, to do value-added things on top of it. So, for example, the Air Force or the Space Force may want special purpose waveforms to ride on top of 5G, where they get all the benefits of a multi-trillion-dollar industry from the standpoint of the fundamental platform and cost structure, but they get all of the committed R&D for the special purpose use cases that they're looking for, regardless of whether it's like ad hoc networking in a warfighter environment on the battlefield or maintaining spatial communications, if you will, far out into space or at hypersonic speeds. So that's what is exciting is as we build our company for the commercial 5G network and 4G networks, there's an opportunity to overlay on top of that an NSC application. And that's really why we're members of NSC.
Oh, terrific. Well, so what's next for Cohere? What are sort of, if you had to pick 3 challenges that you wanted to tackle, what would those look like?
Well, first, we've got to keep our focus on the cellular network because that's our bread and butter. That's our foundation. And as we drive that into revenue, that's what makes us a large-scale commercially viable company. With regard to NSC, instead of looking at 3 things, I look at this as a large project in scope. As I understand it, one of the government's missions now, and it may take a decade to do this, is to somehow converge the commercial sector with the DoD sector and get the best of both worlds. Leverage the platforms that are built for the commercial sector. Use them when, in fact, the use cases don't require anything more strenuous. Maybe you overlay some encryption or security for the unique needs of the communications going over those networks, but otherwise those networks are robust enough and more broadly deployed enough to handle the majority of the volume of the military's communications needs. But then on top of that, almost like a layer on top of the cake, is the special languages or waveforms that'll be used to address a hypersonic warfighter in an aircraft, or an unmanned set of drones that are flying in formation and need to communicate both with each other as well as with the remote command and control center. So what we want to be able to deliver to the DoD through our relationship with the NSC is organize around the commercial 5G platform the unique needs of the warfighter environment on top of that. And then a lot of times what ends up happening is what gets invented for, I mean, Tang is the classic example that we all remember from our childhood. The astronauts invented it and it ended up becoming part of the commercial network. So the benefit of all of this DoD R&D landing on 5G will actually be some of those use cases are going to land on commercial use cases, but they'll have been built for the government. All right. So that's what we want to do. It's going to take us years to do it, but this first year that we've been members of NSC has been a great opportunity for us to get to know other members, let them get to know us. And now that we're at this critical stage, I think we'll probably be able to accelerate in the next couple of years ahead.
Well, terrific. We're very happy to have you as members. Again, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. Thanks to all of you for watching, and we hope that you'll continue to follow the Spotlight series. Thanks.
Thank you, Maren.